Who's that guy in that old shirt? Who must be the fence expert? Who's that guy in that old shirt? Who must be the fence expert? It's time to talk about the fences. It's time to discuss operations and expenses. It's time, it's really time to elevate small businesses. It's time for Joe to drop his knowledge, it's relentless. This rhyme of mine is getting a bit ridiculous. So here we go, we're live with Joe. Enjoy the show.
What is up, Fence fam? So good to be back with you guys, virtually as it were, for another week of Ask the Experts live Q&A with fence experts. Guys, if you're just tuning in, this is a live, or just tuning in for the first time, this is a live conversation we hold most every Saturday with different areas of expertise within the fencing industry, all aimed to answer your questions and hopefully help you along your fencing journey. Or even if you're not on a fencing journey, hang out and let's talk fence. If you guys are listening to the podcast, you're listening to a recorded version of a live conversation I host, as I said, most every Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. Central, and they usually end around 11. Sometimes they go a little bit long if we find some interesting things to talk about. If you guys would like to participate in the conversation, head on over to YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, search Joe Everest, and you'll likely find us most every Saturday talking fence. Before we get into today's interview, I have to shout out Expert Professional Wood Care Products. Yes, they're a sponsor of the show. Yes, they sponsor the live, and it means the world to me because it allows me to bring this content to you guys. But they're more than just a sponsor. They're a sponsor because we're a customer. It's a stain that we really enjoy using. I feel good about putting my employees, my team members, my customers' kids, their pets around this because it's the stain that doesn't stink. It doesn't make you think you're working with chemicals. You're working with natural compounds. So anyway, it's a safe product. It's a stain that doesn't stink. I liked it a lot. Thank you so much to Caleb, Ashley, and the expert team for making this live possible. Now, let's dig into the meat and potatoes of the interview, as it were. The one, the only. Let's see. Let's give him a title. The director of fence education for the fencing industry. I don't know. We'll work on it. The one, the only, the bag champion, almost of the world, for sure the country probably, but almost the world. Nick Rike. How are you, Nick?
I'm doing fantastic, bud. Thanks for that interesting intro.
If I hadn't had so many technical difficulties on my end before, I would have come up with a much better one. I'm going to do better next time, I promise.
It's always something, man, no matter what you do.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that true? Nick, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. You? How's things in your neck of the woods?
Well, they're not warm. They're not warm, but they're busy. So we'll take it.
Well, it's not warm here in Florida, man. We've been actually got down in the 40s, believe it or not.
Well, how are you guys going to survive?
Look, I still got northern blood. I'm okay. I'm from Ohio, so I still do all right. But I watch the rest of these folks running around in parkas when it's 52 degrees,
Yeah. Oh, I've got a friend in kind of central Florida, and that's what they were saying. They're like, anytime it gets close to 50, everyone starts breaking it out like Arctic expedition gear.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they do not want to come visit us today. Today it is it's going to be all the way up to 46 today. So basically a heat wave.
Yeah.
We might grill something later just to get out in this nice weather. Anyway, Nick, for probably like the 2 or 3 people in the industry that haven't met you yet and don't know about you, how about a brief introduction?
All right. So as you said, my name is Nick Rike. I am the Director of Professional Development for the American Fence Association. I've been in the industry a little over 23 years now. I've been in this position for about 2.5. And like you said, basically I kind of oversee and help run all the education programs for AFA. I've been an instructor with AFA since 2014. I was chair of the Florida chapter for 3 years. I was the chair of the chapter president's committee for a year. I was on the board of directors, and then I got hired. So they can't seem to get rid of me.
I was gonna say they can't shake you. You're just
That's
there.
Right. That's right.
Well, I tell you, and this isn't like I didn't mean to talk about this, but you're one of the guys. I think we're starting to call guys like you as servant leaders, right? The guys that have a heart, and gals, folks that really have a passion for making the industry better through just getting involved and making it happen, right? By being these servant leaders that we are starting to see more and more of in the industry.
Yeah. So it's funny. Back when I went on my interview with Jameson, I was talking to them and I said, I'm not a good sales guy. And they were like, well, why do you say that? And I was like, because I don't push products just because that's what's on sale. I don't do this. I don't do that. I said, what I am is a service provider. I said, I'm a fantastic service provider. So, when it came to sales or when it came to tech support or when it came to whatever it was, that was my outlook on things. I've kind of tried to carry that forward through everything else. It's just kind of my outlook on how I do things. I am here to try to help people and make things better or easier or share what little bit of knowledge I have or whatever it is. So I think that's a good explanation.
Nick, and I think we should all take a chapter out of that book, right? Of being servant leaders, even in a service business, right? So as I'm hearing that, I'm like, that's also a perfect description for, and I wouldn't call him a salesman anymore. It's a consultant, maybe with a installation company, right? A service provider, fencing service provider, in that we're not trying to push you to a certain direction. What's good for you is good for us. How can we provide the solutions that would be of maximum value to you, the customer, as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because if they get what they perceive they want or what they decided they wanted, they're going to be happier. They're going to be less nitpicky. For me, I was selling access controls. And so if I pushed somebody to something and they either didn't like it, didn't understand it, or it didn't work, it just made more work for me anyway. So
Sure.
I wanted to make sure that they were happy with what they had. They understood it. They knew how it worked, and it worked like it was supposed to. So it just made sense to me.
Well, and if you're the one pushing the product, then it's all automatically your fault.
Exactly.
That this didn't work. You're like, oh yeah, of course. It's not that, not that any one of the other reasons. It's certainly my fault for pushing you in this direction, which again, great reason not to do that.
Exactly.
We could have a whole episode just on this, Nick.
Absolutely.
We probably
sure.
should. We probably should, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, this is what we teach in the Leadership Academy, is servant leadership. And that's one of the main things that we talk about, and different ways to support your team and support your customers, and what that looks like in the industry or in your business or in your personal life, whatever.
Well, yeah, because they're all versions of each other.
Yep.
Right. Whether it's professional or personal or, in your friendship life or whatever, they're all related. It's all people dealing with people on a very basic level.
That's right.
And that's a kind of an interesting segue. We're talking about marketing too. So we have this conversation where I obviously talk a lot about coming on social media and having conversations here to meet your potential clients down the road. And some of the feedback I get is like, well, yeah, but we don't do much residential. We're mostly commercial. Like, well, I've got great news for you. Every business I've ever seen is run by people. Yep. So if you're good at connecting with people, you'll be great at doing this. Like, this will be easy for you until the day where, like, Elon's robots take over all the businesses. As long as we're dealing with people, I think we're good.
Yep. So one of my first boss in the fence industry told me people like doing business with their friends. So go out and make some friends. And yes, man, that is absolutely true.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things we talk about is people want to do business with people, not with businesses, not with corporations, it's why spokespeople are such a big thing, right? It's why Nike went and picked up Jordan, because they didn't have anyone within Nike that was good at making these relationships. Well, they saw Jordan, who had a massive following. So, hey, let's try this out. Well, come to find out that worked pretty well. So basically one of the talks I give is, how can you be the Michael Jordan of your company? Yeah. Like Ozark Fence, we can't afford to go hire Michael Jordan. So we got to come up with some other plan. And the other plan was just like, be relatable, be likable, and be a resource to the community. And then come to find out that comes back to you.
Absolutely.
This is a whole episode, Nick. This is a whole episode right here. But before we get to that episode, we need to cover this episode. And I wanted to talk to you right now because in this time frame, because we just wrapped up. I say AFA just wrapped up fence installation school, fence contractor business school, sales training school, gate installation school. You guys just accomplished a ton in a matter of a week.
Yep, that's AFA University, man. Every year in the first full week of November, and it was a really good one this year.
I tell you what, the rooms I was in were packed.
Yeah,
right. It was. So we went over to Tulsa. So this year this was the first year it was split. I mean, everything's kind of grown to a point where had to find another location. Fence installation school, fence contractor business school, sales training school were all in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yep.
While gate installation school was in Arlington, Texas. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. We stayed. So the gate school stayed in the same hotel it's been in for the last 6 or 7 or 8 years, something like that. So they had over 70 people going through that school down there, and it takes a ton of stuff. I mean, they've got 2 trailers full of equipment. There's between 10 and 12 instructors. They need 6 rooms for education, plus a dining hall that's large enough for everybody. And so it's a pretty massive production.
But it's well run. It's well run. One of our team members went through and, or one of our contracting partners, I guess you'd say, went through, and he had nothing but great things to say about it. That it was organized, because anytime you get that big of a group, organization becomes a challenge of just like how to get this many people from the start to the finish line and make sure that they pick up everything they need to pick up along the way so that they felt they got a value. Yeah. I had asked him, so this gentleman had invested his own money in this. And I asked him, I said, hey, I mean, just me asking you, do you feel like you got a good value, or where do you think? He said, absolutely. He said, I'll probably go back next year just to try to pick up what I missed this year. He said, I can see this being just an annual ongoing education.
That's
and I
awesome.
think that speaks volumes, Nick,
It
for
does.
for everyone involved.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an inexpensive investment. It's not a massive investment, but it's a meaningful one.
Yeah.
And for him to already say, hey, I'm just going to put it in my budget that I need to be down there because, and this is a similar conversation we're going to have with what I saw, but camaraderie, he's growing his group of, professionals he can network with into. Yep. He's like, I met people from all over the country that he is just starting his journey into automation. But he said, now I've got people in my phone that have been doing it 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They've been deep into this industry. And I met guys just like me that were like, I think I want to do this, but I think this is where I need to start before I do this.
Yeah.
It was interesting to hear that, Nick, because that was much the same experience that I saw going on in Tulsa.
Absolutely. Well, to give you an idea, so one, we're extremely lucky with the instructors that we have for that school. 3 of the guys that are instructors there are original instructors from when the school started in 2007. So they have been there for every school every year. So we're able to build that system out throughout the school. And then most of our other instructors, with rare exceptions where we bring new people in, because obviously we're constantly trying to replace and train our replacements is what we say. Yeah. But man, to maintain that tribal knowledge and to understand how the school runs and to get that organization is just fantastic. And we're really lucky with the instructors that we've got fantastic instructors and they want to come back year after year. But to give you an idea how we break that down, I spent over 2 hours just breaking down the teams for that school alone. Wow. And the reason is we break them up based on years of experience so that the teams are not, super stacked or super new. Sure. We break them up to where if you send 2 people from the same company, they will not be on the same team because, like you said, we want them to meet new people. We want them to expand their network. And the other thing we do is I even broke it down by states. I tried to make it to where nobody was from the same state. So, I mean, I went super deep how I broke this down to try to make sure that, people that are competitors weren't on the same team or so, sure. I mean, but we ended up having somebody from, we had 10 teams. We had somebody from Georgia on every team. We had somebody from Texas on every team. We had somebody from Mississippi on almost every team. Wow. So it got difficult to try to break this thing down and make sure that I was spreading things out, but it worked fantastic.
I was gonna say it sounded like it worked because my guy, that was part of his feedback was he met people from all over the country, from all different experience levels, and so that was probably just in his group.
Yeah,
it was just from all over the country, from all different experience levels.
100%.
Well, Nick, that was well done. That was well done. So it seemed like you also did the same thing with the fence installation school as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do that with all of our schools. Fence installation school, we had one company that sent 4 people. Well, we've only got 5 teams. I got to make sure they're all on a different team because it's the same thing. We don't want them to work with the guy that they work with every day because they already know what they know. And part of the networking and working with people in other areas is it's like, up north, we set all our gate operators on posts, or we dig and set all of our posts in the fence world. And then, down south, they're like, oh, well, we pad mount everything, or we drive our posts, or we do this. And so by talking to people all over the country that do things a little bit different, man, you wouldn't believe the little nuggets you pick up. And it's like, oh, you do it like that? Man, I never thought of that. That's really cool. Okay, now I'm going to take that back. And man, if you can pick up just one nugget every day, it's worth the price of admission.
Oh, of course. And so we had one of our direct team members go to fence installation school, and what I had guessed would happen, it happened in that. So he got a tremendous amount of value from fence installation school, but he got an additional, additional nuggets, additional value out of just the evening spent with these team members as well, because they're all same hotel, they're all eating meals together, they're all building a team, right? Absolutely. They're all in separate teams, and these teams are really bonding with each other. He was like, you wouldn't imagine. He goes, these guys were talking to me, showing me like pictures of their tools, and they're kind of like our tools, but we could probably make ours a little bit better by doing this and that. And that was outside of the school day, right?
Absolutely.
That was just, them hanging out at the hotel being like, wait a minute, you said you use this thing. How does that work? Oh yeah, let me show you a picture.
Yep.
Just such a tremendous amount of value that those guys got just from the camaraderie they're in the groups.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, we like to have all the schools together. I think it's extremely important for us to have all the schools together, because what then happens, the guys in the gate operator school see what the guys in the fence school are doing, and they're like, man, either I want to come do that next year so I can learn those things, or there's this guy on my team that I think would get a benefit from that. And so the next year they send somebody to another school, or the fence contractor business school guys are now talking to the guys from the fence school or the gate operator school, and they're picking up those nuggets. When you're out there just digging posts or digging holes and setting posts every day, you don't always think about the next level and what's going on in the office and the backside of it. And so all of a sudden, when you're sitting there talking to a regional manager or a branch manager or an owner or something, and they're like, well, here's some of the things that we think about and how that affects things. And all of a sudden, everybody starts to understand that it's so much bigger picture than just the post hole that you're digging. And that's fantastic. I mean, like you said, the camaraderie and the team building, it's not just among your team and among your school, it's among all the schools, and it's building that fence family.
Yeah, absolutely. And introducing them to the extended family, right? So that's kind of what it feels like to me is, we're in the holiday season, or we're almost in the holiday season. And it's like, you see your close family, week to week, month to month, whatever. But then the holidays come around, and then now you're meeting second cousins that maybe you've never met, or you're meeting an uncle that lives on the other side of the world, whatever it is. It kind of felt like that is like, hey, I know a few people here, but let me now meet some people that they know, like second, third tier relationships that now I can become on a first name basis with.
Absolutely. And then, when you get more involved and you start coming to more things, now you see them at Fence Tech, and it's like, oh man, Hey, how you doing? And then, you see them at a chapter event, or you go to one of the other chapters, the clay shoots or the golf outings or whatever it is. And all of a sudden you start seeing these people and you build relationships.
Absolutely. And you're building a network of just a support system too, right?
Yeah.
I was talking, so Caven's our guy here in house. I was talking to him last week, and I was like, hey, how's that? Are you still keeping up? He's like, oh yeah, no. He goes, I had a question about, he was doing a repair. He's like, I remember I talked to someone else about this. And so I had messaged them real quick and shot him a picture, and they kind of walked me through how they would do it. Like, that is incredible. That is incredible that now he has that support system of, hey, I know I can reach out to this person at any, on a moment's notice and get some help if they're available. Not only armed with basic information, and not basic, but foundational information, foundational training, but also to have that support system that just kind of comes built into the system itself.
Yeah. And it's not the guy down the road, it's somebody from anywhere across the country. So you feel, people feel real safe calling and talking to them and saying, hey, I'm thinking about bidding this project, but I've never done it. But I remember when we talked, you had done this before. And so whether it's, sound walls on the highway, or whether it's, deer fence along the highway, or whether it's cable system, whatever it is, there's a good chance that you've talked to somebody. Sure. And so you have that ability to call them up and say, man, look, I remember in the gate school, you work on a lot of, XYZ gate operator. And I just got a call for one, and it's doing this, what might it be? And man, it's absolutely invaluable having that network and being able to make those calls.
Absolutely agreed. So last week we spent some time talking to Tony about fence installation school specifically. I'd like to talk to you for a little bit, Nick, about fence contractor business school as well as sales training school, just to get maybe a little bit go deeper into each one of those. So fence contractor business school, that was a week-long course, right? Or 4 days and then a massive test.
Well, it's 4.5 days and then a massive test. Yeah. So they actually take 6 tests on Friday afternoon, and it's actually good that it's broken down this way. So it's 6 50-question tests. And the good thing is you're not sitting for 300 questions. And if you don't pass, you have to take all 300 again. So if you pass, 4 out of 6, then you only have to take the 2 that you didn't pass. So it's broken down really, really well. But it covers I mean, it covers a little bit of everything. We go through ASTM and UL, OSHA, HR, sales and marketing, estimating and bidding. We go through legal and contracts. I mean, we go through a ton of stuff in that school. And the basic gist of that was we've got a whole lot of people that are fantastic at building fence, but maybe they had never run a business or they had never thought about contracts. I mean, that was one of the big topics of conversation in the school was, when they start going through the contracts and the legalities of what's required and what you should have, the CYA.
Right.
And,
Right.
There were some people that were like, oh, I thought I had a good contract, but now I see there's things I need to fix or change, so it's pretty eye-opening. And it's the same deal. When you get in a room with like-minded people that are interested in what's going on, man, the conversations are just fantastic.
Well, in one module I sat in on, I guess, or I sat through a little bit of it was they're just all about insurance. Yep. And because it's like everyone says, well, you need to have insurance. Usually they're talking about workman's comp and liability, but it's like there's so much more depth to just that conversation of, well, you probably should also have an umbrella. You probably should also have an inland marine. You should probably also have these. It's like, okay, I should have them. Why? Well, they talked about that. What should it look like? And I thought it was really interesting that it wasn't just an overview of this is what you should do, but it was also, you could tell the instructors are trying to get that knowledge passed to them on why it's important and what you look for and how you look for it and who to reach out to. Like, when you reach out to an insurance agent or broker or whomever, these are the conversations you should have. These are probably some answers they should give you. And if not, like you might check around.
Yeah. You might be talking to the wrong person.
Right. Well, and I think that's so, Nick, your point is absolutely spot on. I think it's so important because guys that are just great at building, and gals, folks that are great at building fence, it's a different muscle group to run a business.
Absolutely.
Right. So in the gym, I mean, you could crush leg day. You could be a leg day champion. But then if you get to arm day, you're like, well, I don't know. I've seen people do it and it doesn't look that hard. But when you get into it, you're like, oh, this is completely different. We're in the same industry. We're in the same gym, but these two movements are much different. It's a lot like that. You get into business, it's like, okay, well, I need sales so I can stay busy. All right, so let's start figuring out how to make sales. And then, I should probably have a contract. Unfortunately, that's some of the conversations you see in the Facebook groups is just all about contracts. Hey, what do you do when your customer doesn't pay you? You do exactly what your contract says you're going to do. What does your contract say you're going to do? Or what happens if I hit an unmarked utility, a sprinkler line? Or what happens if insert problem? It's like, well, that should all be in a contract. But you guys go deep into or go past that conversation of you should have this and go into here's what you should have and here's why. I think the understanding the why is important so that these folks can go back into their businesses and know how to tweak this advice and plug it into their unique situation.
Yeah. Well, the gym analogy is a great analogy because you can be lifting weights. Let's say you're doing arm curls, but when somebody that actually knows what they're doing comes in and says, well, wait a second, your form is off. If you change just a little bit here, you're going to get better results. That's exactly what this is. You may have a contract, but it might be missing a couple key phrases or a couple key terms or something like that. So if you just tweak your contract a little bit, now all of a sudden you're getting better results. Or you may have insurance, but like you said, do you have the umbrella coverage? Do you have the inland marine? Do you have, those extra things that when that situation comes up, make sure you're covered. And here's why you need it. It's the practical, application of the knowledge. And absolutely, it goes above and beyond.
Yeah, it's the, if we're thinking 101 is basic foundation, it's like the 201, 301 level of business, right? Of, hey, here's the advanced training you need to run a business and to have this foundational knowledge about running the business.
Sure. Well, people ask about our schools and they're like, I can't come to the school, but I still want to get the certification, blah, blah, blah. Well, all of our certifications are set up as self-study. The test is based off the book. Fantastic. So why should you come to the course? Because you get that extra knowledge.
Mhm.
All of our courses, yes, they go over the majority of the key terms and the key things that are in the book and things like that, but they're not preparing you for the test. They are to go above and beyond and give you that practical knowledge and that real world in life work knowledge that you can't get from a book. The conversations that you have with the other people in the school, the conversations, the stories that the instructors tell is just above and beyond to drive home the core, meaning of what's going on in the book. So, yes, you can get the book and take the test and get the certification, but you're
Sure.
still missing out on that extra that you get from showing up.
Well, and the book is great for if you're good at retaining knowledge, right?
Yes.
If you can ingest and retain and then put it back out onto a test, great for that.
Yep.
Well, what I felt like the course was, because the course started with the books. Here is the training or the resources that you need, the all of the documentation you need, the books. Now let's spend 4.5 days on helping you understand, not
Correct.
just retain knowledge, but actually understand what this is talking about, the
Yep.
whys, the hows, the whens, the all of this, so that let's take what's on the page, but also make it in a way that you can relate with. Because honestly, Nick, it's not, when the classes I sat in on, to your point, we're not teaching to the test. It's like we honestly want to see you succeed. And
Correct.
so I'm not going to just make sure you pass this test, because if you pass the test but you don't succeed, there's no value in that, right? But we want to make sure, because we're all working in the same industry, different parts of the same industry, different markets largely, but what's good for one market's good for all of them. So if we're raising the professionalism standard for our industry, well, guess what? Hello, we get to live in we get to work in a more professional profession.
Absolutely.
Or something like that. But it's good for everybody. And I think what you guys are trying to do with that is, so a new business typically lasts 3 to 5 years or somewhere in that. You guys are really trying to break that, right? Break that statistic to say, hey, we want to arm you with the knowledge. Because I think that 3 to 5 years is someone that's really great at building fence, just they're on their game. They know exactly how to build the fence the correct way. And then they go into business and they're trying to figure out sales. They're trying to figure out business management. They're trying to figure out procurement. They're trying to figure out logistics, all of this. And they just get so far over their head that they end up leaving, right? They, for whatever reason, one reason or another, the business does not succeed. The problem, though, Nick, is what I see is they don't go back to the industry. They don't go somewhere else within the industry to a different company. They leave the industry as a whole. Right. Because they just, and maybe it's pride, maybe it's ego. It's just like, I can't go back because I went this direction and then now I'm going to go into some sort of related trade. It seems like you guys are trying to break that by saying, okay, stop. We will teach you. We will help you understand we'll arm you with the tools you need to run a successful business to give you a better shot. Maybe let's try to take that 3 to 5 years and stretch it to 10 years. Right? If we can stretch that, and we can make you, successful in that period of time, well, I've got to think that makes you gives you a higher chance of becoming successful long term.
Sure. So that's absolutely what we're trying to do. So we've got business expansion modules that we're working on and have put together. We're introducing the career pathways, and the business expansion is not just meaning hiring more people and doing more work. It may just be doing what you're already doing better and more efficiently. Mm-hmm. That's expanding your business, because now all of a sudden, if it takes you, 3 days to do a job that used to take you 4, well, you do a couple of those and all of a sudden you can do an extra job. So you're expanding your business without hiring anybody. Or if you're in a position where, okay, now do you need to hire more internal people, or are you going to bring in subcontractors? How are you going to run that? What is it? What is your model going to be? And then on the career pathway side, the AFA wants to be a partner to the industry. That's what we're here for. So we've come up with these career pathways to show somebody, no matter where you're at in your career, whether you just started or whether you've been in the industry 10 years and you're a field foreman and you're trying to decide, you're getting older or your body's breaking down or you don't want to be in the field all the time anymore. What's the next step? So we've got these career pathways to kind of show you, okay, here's the education that we have. Here's the level that you're on. Here's the level that you want to get to. Here's what we can do to help you get to whatever that next level is. And so that's what 2025 is all going to be about, the career pathways and how education and certification can help you get to where you want to go, whether that means new position for you personally, new section for your company. If you're a residential company and you're thinking about getting into commercial, or if you're a commercial company and you're thinking about getting into government work and prevailing wage and Davis-Bacon and all that, we've got stuff that can help you with all that and kind of help explain you and get your feet wet. Or if you're thinking about getting into automation, okay, you don't do automation right now, you sub it all out. Well, if you're thinking of bringing that in-house, what do you need? Here's some of the tools that you need. Are you gonna hire somebody brand new and then train them, or are you going to try to hire your subcontractor and bring them in? Or, what are things you need to look at? Supply chain management, where are you going to get the stuff? Who's going to be your support system? All of those things are things that, don't take a ton, but you have to ask the right questions and get some answers before you dive into them. And we're trying to ease some of that pain.
Well, and it probably also gives maybe the owner operator, the business owner, a better understanding of what those career paths should look like, right? Because I think about like in a owner operator's growth cycle. So they're building great fence. Now they start a business and everyone says, well, you should hire one of these roles. Okay, but what does that look like? Like, what would those expectations be? What roles could I give them? And it's, when I talk to contractors, a lot of times I say, hey, the best thing you can do for your business and your sanity is offload the tasks you don't like to do. Find someone that enjoys that and offload that task to them. Now you're going to have to find them a few other things, because that's probably not a full-time task, right? And it sounds like what between your expansion and your the career pathways is, okay, so maybe it sounds like you need to hire someone to take care of your bookkeeping. I don't love accounting, Nick. This might surprise you. I'm not fantastic at any of that. Spreadsheets are beyond me. No, thank you. I mean, I could figure it out, but I don't want to. Okay, well, then sounds like we should probably hire a bookkeeper then. Well, what does that career pathway look like? Or what does that job duty look like? What could you offload? What should you expect? That sort of thing. Or just any one of these tasks. It sounds like that's really what you guys are aiming for.
Absolutely. So, if somebody's coming from the field and they open their own business, they're probably really good at, let's say, an operations manager, because they understand the field work. They understand running their crews. They understand, organizing the job sites and all that stuff. But maybe they need to hire an office manager, because they don't understand that side of things. They don't necessarily understand the HR and like you said, the accounting and those type things. Okay, so for your business, that's what's right. Whereas we have other people that jump into the business and maybe they buy a fence company and they're from the business world, so they're already a fantastic office manager. Well, you need to hire an ops guy that understands what the guy in the field are going through, and a production manager, and they know how to run the yard. And, then you start thinking, are you going to buy in job lots? Are you going to buy in bulk? Or, do you have a yard yourself to store your materials? Are you going to, there's 100 different ways to go. And that's why I tell everybody when I show them the career pathways, I was like, yes, I've got them listed out as this stair step, but just know that's just kind of to show you that it is a path.
Sure.
You can jump all over that path, however you need to work out to get to where you're going.
Well, and I was talking to a gentleman, this has been probably a year or so ago, very analytical. So he is the spreadsheets person. He wants to see the numbers and how tweaking them affects the business. He wants to get into the books. He wasn't, how do you say this? Like he wasn't good at the sales side, right? Because the sales side is a lot about just making personal relationships, just a lot of empathy and a lot of just having conversations to build that relationship.
Yeah.
He, and not to fault, but just, he was very analytical, and he did not enjoy that. The small talk of, hey, how are the kids and this and that. He just wanted to get down to, this is the footage, this is the material, this is the cost. Would you like us to build your fence? Yeah. And he's like, I'm not good at doing that. So, okay, well, then that sounds like you need to find somebody that's good at that. And so in your example of the office manager that's great at that, they probably also maybe look for a sales type role, because while they may be okay at sales, it could supercharge their business if they were able to put somebody specifically into sales who is great at it, great at creating these relationships, following up, that sort of thing. And just as important as the ops manager might be the sales manager, and then
Absolutely.
the office manager, and understanding what those roles should look like. Now, each business is going to be different, so they're all probably versions of, but that could really impact a business in a very positive way.
Yep. That's, so we just revamped the operations manager course.
Okay.
Robert Whitaker and I worked on that with a couple other guys. And that's what was so difficult when we started going through that, because I had to get through to them that this course has to be available to people that are $1 million a year and people that are $10 million a year. And those two businesses, those two operations managers for those businesses look totally different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So when we were going through the course, it was like, okay, some of this stuff is going to be way over the head of some of the people in this class. But if they understand that that's what they're going to need to look like 5 years from now, then they can start making those plans and start setting things up. And so, right now they may still be doing paper calendars, but they may know that, hey, you need a digital calendar in your near future, or, maybe you need a phone system to an answering service, or maybe you need a scheduling service for people to, schedule a point, whatever it is. Just know that that's what you have to start working towards.
Well, and if you start acting like a $10 million company, then you'll probably start getting there a little bit faster.
Yep.
Right. Because you are implementing these systems. I mean, a lot of the systems that make a $10 million a year company really efficient would make a $1 million a year company wildly successful.
Absolutely.
Right. So talking about, scheduling assistants, talking about, answering, phone answering companies is like, well, okay, at $1 million a year, part of the conversation is, can we afford it? Right. Can we rationalize this? But if the answer is yes, then all of a sudden, because also to the outside looking in from the customer's view, you're a well-oiled machine who has all your systems in place, and they might not know you're $1 million a year company. They're like, this looks like a lot like that company that does 10 million a year, or something to that effect as well.
Well, that's one of the things that we talk about. We get so into the weeds. It's like, show up with your truck clean and your stuff organized. That you can be the absolute best technician in the country, and if when you open your truck door, trash is falling out, and soda cans are falling out and all that stuff, and you got holes in your shirt and whatever, the customer, the perception is not that. And so, like you said, you can be $1 million company, but if you show up looking like $10 million, the customer has no idea what your books look like. And all of a sudden you have elevated yourself. You are the professional that showed up on the site, and it makes a world of difference.
Well, the best thing you could do for yourself in terms of rolling up to a job site is to get as close to like a NASCAR pit crew as you can get. Right. Everyone's got their own task. Like, listen, because when you roll up, it's the first 5 steps are pretty much all the same. Like, listen, all right, guys, I need somebody getting equipment off the truck. I need somebody getting string line, start stringing this out. I need this, and this, regardless of what the job is. I mean, it's going to change after that. But what an impact that have on a customer.
Yeah.
Right. Seeing a truck come up, someone comes up to the door. Hey, I'm so-and-so with so-and-so company, while the other guys are already moving equipment.
Yep.
Like, these guys don't mess around.
Yep.
Versus the guys that are all having a group huddle at the truck going, okay, you grab this, I'll go talk to the customer maybe. Anyway, these are all ways of differentiating yourself. But it sounds like these are things that are covered in that, or versions of this conversation happen there in that operations management.
Yeah. So, I mean, these type conversations happen in all of our courses. I mean, just different ways to elevate yourself and be that professional. That's actually one of the courses that's taught at the Gate Automation Installation School, is a professionalism course. And Philip Doyle teaches that. And that's what it's all about, is how you carry yourself, how you set yourself apart from other people in the industry. Because if you act like a professional, you'll be treated like a professional, and you treat other people professionally. And it just elevates the entire, situation and organization.
Absolutely. So I touched on sales for just a second, which reminds me that was another course that went on there in Tulsa was sales training school.
Yes.
Now, that's a little bit shorter of a school. Can you tell us a little bit about what that was about?
Yeah, so the sales training school is a 2-day school. We had Scott Galpin and Randy Ward this year were our instructors for that. Scott has taught sales training for years and years within his company and for his company and stuff. So he's fantastic. And Randy Ward's been around for a number of years and knows his stuff. So we said it was funny. Scott kind of teaches the class, and then Randy wants to be the color guy. He wants to be the color commentator that adds stories and adds context to everything that's going on. And so it's funny, everybody's like, well, we want to learn how to sell fence. We want to learn how to sell fence. And it's like, well, let me teach you how to sell. And then it doesn't matter what you're selling. I can't tell you if you're going to break it down, post panel, or if you're going to do it by the foot or how you're going to do it. That's your company. And it's different with each of the products and all that stuff. But if we can teach you the difference between consultative sales and traditional selling and how to go about the sales process and what that looks like, it doesn't matter what you're selling. You're going to be successful. And so that's what that whole course is about, is really just opening statements and closing statements and what type of person are you? How do you convey the message and how do you listen to the customer and little tips and tricks that work well for that. So it's a really cool course. That's actually just been redone. We've redone that twice in the last year. And so this was a basically new version that was taught this year. And it was very successful.
Well, you couldn't have picked better guys to lead that course. I'll tell you right now. I've known Scott just for a little bit. I've known Randy for a while. So we're both in the Midwest AFA chapter. And Randy, you want to talk about just a great person in general. Like, let's start there. But then so good at forming relationships that which is what someone in a sales consulting type role would be, right? Is just great at, hey, how are the kids? Hey, I saw your post on this. Do you need any help with that? Or I tell you what, my favorite thing about Randy, and you've probably experienced this too, he'll just call randomly. He's like, hey, you know what? I was rolling down the road and I was thinking about this and it made me think about you. And I just want to let you know, I'm proud of you, bud.
Yeah.
Like, and that's really the phone call. Like, it'll go on for a few more minutes and anyway. Very good people to run that course for sure. Because if we can pass that along, I mean, just the relationship building alone leads to incredible sales careers. If you're good at building relationships, you'll be great at selling regardless. To your point, it's fence today. Maybe your life takes you to a different industry. And as long as you can remember that training, I think you'll be good at no matter where you go.
Yeah. Like I said, people like doing business with their friends. So go out and make some friends.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, let's say hello to a few people. And then I want to get into a couple more things. So a little bit of a roadmap. And Nick, are we good to go over a little bit?
We can go over. I'm good.
Okay. Because we still have two pretty big subjects to talk about. One, on the road training, because I know there's a couple coming up, and then an online training situation. That I think we're going to spend some time talking about it because I personally am curious about it. So I know there's probably some people out there that are curious about it as well.
Absolutely.
We know this guy, Nathan Downs. Speaking of Tulsa, Nathan stopped by Tulsa training, say hello to a few people. Good morning, friend. Excited to hear what Mr. Rike has coming down the pike. There you go. We also know this gentleman, Tony Thornton. Good morning, Tony. Dan Wheeler. Hello, Dan. Good morning. Joe and Nick, River City Fence will be 5 deep at Salt Lake City. My salesman and project manager will be in classes all week, and 2 foremen will enjoy the show. There you go. We haven't even got into Fence Tech yet either. But we need to get into that too. Michael Reed's here with us. Great insights today. Thank you, Michael. Now, this is confusing. Front Rock Fence. Now, he's typically our fencing brother in the Great White North, beyond the North Wall. But now he's in sunny Tampa. Well, there you go. He's the smart one. He's like, no, we don't do winter. Nick, the older I get, the more I understand snowbirds. I'm like, ooh, it's getting a little cold. First frost. Let's go somewhere where it's warm. Let's do that. Unfortunately, a lot of people have already figured that out. So I don't know. Kevin Lynn says, good morning, Joe. Thanks for helping my boys out Wednesday with some material. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Absolutely, Kevin. So Kevin's a contractor up in Kansas City. He had some guys come down into the market, needed a few things. This is one thing I'm going to be talking about at Tony's business conference coming up here in a couple of weeks, is that we don't all need to be competitors. And competitor doesn't have to be a dirty word, right? He was doing a job in my backyard. It's probably 10 minutes from me, but he said, hey, I've got some guys coming to town. This is some fittings they need. Send them by. We'll help you out. No problem. Corey Bigelow says, if you're too busy chopping the trees to take time to sharpen the axe. That's exactly what we're talking about with these training schools, whether it's fence installation school, contractor business school, sales training. You got to take time to sharpen that axe. You got to get better at it. Michael Reed hits the nail on the head when he says, AFAU, you feel what it's like to belong to the fence family, and you can turn your job into a career. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what was going on, Nick, at these after hours tabletop conversations, right? Absolutely. Now, they usually were over by the bar, and that's okay. But that's where the most tables were. That's where all the seating was over there. So
exactly.
But yeah. So Mary, this is a conversation we see in Facebook a lot. What's a good price per foot to have a 6-foot wooden fence with wood posts installed these days? Here's the problem with that question, Mary, is it's going to depend not only market to market, but also company to company. So Nick and I could have fence companies next door to each other, same market. We could have the same amount of team members. We could have the same trucks. We could have same. And our prices would likely be different because we're probably running at different end, or we're running our businesses differently. We've got different business goals. That's the first problem with your question. The second problem with your question is there's this thing called the Sherman Act, which talks a little bit about like collusion, and it talks about price fixing. And one of the tenets is publicly discussing pricing, because if I tell you an answer and Nick's in my market, then Nick says, well, Joe's getting more than I get. Well, so I should price myself a little bit higher. And now all of a sudden we're not directly price fixing, but we're inadvertently price fixing. So public discussion of pricing is also something that's not. Mary, what I would suggest is call 4 or 5 fence contractors in your area, give them an idea of what you're looking at, and that will give you an idea of the market price of whatever fence you're looking at in your market.
And make sure it's apples to apples. If they're building it, stick building it, or if they're buying panels, or if it's pre-stained, or it's got to be apples to apples.
Well, and if it's a wood fence, are we talking about pine? Are we talking about cedar? Are we talking about pre-stained pine or cedar? Are we talking about, now you said with wood posts. Okay. So that narrows out steel posts, but there's a lot more to this conversation too. Nick's point is absolutely correct. You make sure they're apples to apples. I want a 6-foot privacy fence installed with that. Make sure you're consistent with this, but my answer is not going to help you any. I promise. I promise you. Well, anyway. All right, Nick. So these schools happen in Arlington, Texas, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. But AFA also does training on the road as well.
Correct. So this past year, we were in Dallas. We partnered with Wood Defender.
Okay.
We were in Philly. We partnered with Merchants Metals. Okay. And the reason that we're trying to partner with these companies is to broaden the experience. It's part of the reason that we went to Tulsa for AFAU this year. We partnered with Ameristar.
Yeah.
So on Wednesday night, all of the students got to actually take a tour of Ameristar and see how their panels are built and their mills. And you watch, it's so cool to watch a flat piece of steel run into a machine, go through a die. It all of a sudden becomes a round piece of steel. Then it goes through another die and it comes out the other end as a square post, and it's all welded together, and it's the coolest thing ever. And so, we partnered with SCS out in California a while back, and they got to see wire being weaved. So for 2025 in September, we're partnering with Thai Metal again. So we're going to do a welding school. We're going to do the 2-day fence installation school. And then they're going to get to tour the plant and see how they build their gates and all that stuff. In May, we're going to Nebraska to see Matt Warner. And nice. We're going to go to his place. He does a fantastic job to support us. And when we go there, everybody has a great time. And he rolls out the red carpet for us. And so that's going to be a good school. And then we've got one other one that I'm still working on. I've got 2 different people that I'm trying to figure out who's going to come through for me, but we're going to partner with another big manufacturer, and we're going to get to see nice. Wire being weaved. And one of them actually does their they're hot melt, and they've got a galvanized coater, so we can see not only how the chain link is weaved, but how it goes through the hot melt galvanized coater or hot dip coater. And I mean, so we got big plans for 25 coming up.
Sounds like it. Well, I tell you, so the last on the road training I was at was up at Matt's place there in Lincoln, or just outside Lincoln. Everybody needs to make sure they do the anti-tornado dance before they go up there. That was a wild day. And I missed the vinyl section because of this tornado. So
that was that big dust storm. That was
it wasn't actually a tornado. It was lifting staked tents.
Yeah.
And just it basically tossed them about 3 counties over, as far as I can tell. That thing was gone.
Yep.
But no, so if you're not able to attend in one of the AFA universities, obviously on the road is the way to go there. So it's a bit more of an abbreviated course, right? But it's very tactical so when I was at Matt's, it was chain link and vinyl. Correct. And so you did a full day, and it was, when I say tactical, we talked about theory for just a little bit, and then we got right into hands-on, which was much like fence installation school. We're talking about set and post. We're talking about bias cuts on chain link. We're talking about running rail and hookups and the whole thing. So it's not necessarily just about theory. You spend a lot of time actually building this fence.
So this is a great segue to what you're wanting to get to also. And the reason I say that is we used to actually do some classroom work at each of these schools. And like you said, the on the road is a 2-day school. So we do 2 disciplines. It's usually chain link and something. So chain link and wood, or chain link and vinyl, or chain link and ornamental, whatever. Sure. And we split it into 2 teams, and you do a full day with each discipline. Well, now with your next subject, the AFA University Online, we've actually taken that classroom work out. So at all of these schools, you go straight to the field, and it's hands-on right away. They go through and start talking about tools and specialty tools and how they use things and stuff like that. And then you start building fence. And the reason they're able to do that is, like I said, AFA University Online, we have a course called the Fence Fundamentals. And this is for anybody, whether you want your office staff to go through it so that they just have a better understanding of what you do and how things work or what materials are. Or whether you have a new hire and you want to get them up to speed faster so that when you send them out in the field, nobody can send them for the post stretcher because they will have already seen some of those tools. But so that's a 4-hour online course that goes through everything, all the different disciplines. It talks about tools. It talks about the specialty tools. It talks about materials and what's a rail end, what's a dog-eared post or picket versus a regular picket versus, stockade, or it talks a little bit about everything. It talks about some truck and trailer safety, some loading safety. It talks a little bit about OSHA. So they kind of get a little bit of information about that and what states OSHA is required versus using a state-run OSHA. We even go through, some of the extreme weather conditions, heat stroke and frostbite and things like that, what to look for. So it's an overall, not just a little bit about fence, but a little bit about what all you will deal with being in the fence industry. So it's a fantastic program to get somebody up to speed quick.
Yeah. And I like your point that it's for everybody, right? So in our company, it's for everyone from Autumn, who answers the phone. She's the first point of contact. She also is the person that deals with customers as they come in saying, hey, do you have a cup doohickey that goes on the end and it kind of does this? She's going to know, oh, yeah, that's a rail end. Yes, yep. we do, in fact, carry rail ends. Or, it's going to arm her with that knowledge. Also, for when a customer comes in and says, hey, I'm trying to do this in this way, she can kind of listen to that and go, okay, well, in the fundamentals course, what you really should be doing is doing it like this. So that not only are we sell fence fittings, but we're also trying to be a resource too, to say, because we've got a large DIY crowd that comes through and they know what they're trying to do, but they don't exactly know how to do it.
Yeah. They watch some YouTube videos.
Yeah. Which those can get dangerous. Yes. But yeah, so they've done this, but they need a resource to say, hey, have you thought about this? Right. And And then, the fundamentals are just that. They're fundamental.
Yep.
But at least she can be armed with that information and those resources to say, here's where my knowledge ends, but now I can connect you with so-and-so here who specializes in chain link, and he can answer a few more of your questions and more in depth. But it also is going to make her more confident.
Exactly.
Right. Instead of, I don't know, let me go get somebody. No one loves giving that answer. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Is now a lot of times that's the correct answer. Let's not make anything up, but arming her with the fundamental knowledge to say, yes, this is exactly what you're looking for, or I understand what you're trying to do, but have you thought about doing it this other way? Let me connect you with somebody that can, better explain that. Builds more confidence as well in the team member.
Yep.
And if we're talking about building career pathways, then it obviously gives her fundamental knowledge, but then also to know, hey, maybe I would like to be in this, maybe I would like to cross train in this way and maybe make a move horizontally rather than vertically. Maybe I'd like to switch into this other role. But fundamentals is just, as it says, as it sounds, where everything starts.
Yeah. And maybe that person finds out that they've got a knack for that. And, maybe they're really good organizing, organizationally wise and spreadsheet wise. And so now maybe all of a sudden they become your procurement agent, and they run your yard, and they make sure that your materials are ordered. And, so you never know when somebody gets a little bit, it's one of those things, they don't know what they don't know. And so all of a sudden you start showing them some things and they're like, oh, well, I never realized that's a good fit for me. And now I can move this way into that. And that's exactly what the career pathways are about.
And the career and the fundamentals. So it's available online through that. Now, how does someone, let's go about this two ways. So, I guess step one is becoming an AFA member.
Yep. It's available to non-members as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
It's like anything else. It's a little more expensive if you're not a member for the paid courses. Sure. But if you become a member, so to get to it, if you go to the main AFA website, in the top right corner, you'll see it says AFA University, and you click into that, and you do have to have a login. So it's the same login as the AFA portal. So if you're not a member, you will have to sign up as, as a prospect, and that will get you a login. And then once you log in, you'll have access to everything on the site. On the site, we do a combination of paid and free information. So we've got multiple free courses on there. Like we did Gate Safety Summit. It was called the Next Gate Safety Summit, and it was 3 1-hour sessions. So there's a ton of information about why we do things the way we do them, and why we adhere to ASTM F2200 and F1184, and why things are like that. And you've seen the Hummingbird Alliance video.
Yes.
So they joined us, and we talked about the legislation that California passed to make sure that the gates had to be installed a correct way. And we play the video as to why this is so important. And I actually played that at Fence Installation School this year. So Friday it kind of rained on us, and so we did some roundtable and stuff like that. And I went in and talked to the guys and said, look, if you want to know why we preach what we preach, and safety and wanting to do things correctly, let me play you this 4-minute video. And but that's all on there, and it's free. And then we did 2 summits last year that are also on there that are free. And we did the tech summit, where we interviewed 9 tech companies that, like My Salesman and Job Nimbus and Fence Cloud. And we interviewed all these people, and they actually went through and showed you a little bit about their setup and what their system does and how it can help your business. And so if you're thinking that you might need a software of some kind, you can go in and watch these videos. Each of them is a half an hour, and you can pick out which one looks like it's going to work best for you before you ever even have to call them and set an appointment.
Nice.
When we did the coaching and consulting summit, where we got with 6 different coaches and consultants in the industry. So the Robert Whitakers and the Tony Thorntons and the Sean Kings, and we brought all these guys in, and we talked to them about what they do to help people's businesses. So, if you feel like you've plateaued and you need some help and you want to bring somebody in, Well, you can go watch all these videos and find out who might be best suited to help you move forward in your business. And then you can call them up and bring them in. And so, we've got, and these are all free things that are on there. And then, like we said, the Fence Fundamentals is a paid course. So if you want to get a bunch of folks in your company to go through that, you go on, you sign them up, you can pay it out right there. We've got training videos, the training videos from Fence Tech from 2023 and 2024. We recorded a bunch of videos each year. So if you couldn't make it to Fence Tech, you can go back in and rewatch these videos. Nice. And that way, it's fantastic information and learning that goes on at Fence Tech. We had, I had 51 total educational sessions at Fence Tech in Nashville. So there's no way you could get to all of them.
Right.
If there was 2 going on at the same time and you went to one, well, now you can go watch the video for the other one. You didn't miss anything.
Nice. Very nice. Well, so all that can be found again. So tell us again one more time, Nick, how do we find it? Where's the first step?
The first step is just go to the AmericanFenceAssociation.com. That's our main website. And then in the top right corner, it's a red tab. It says AFA University Online.
Okay. Let's do this. Let's see if we can't break the computer real quick, and we'll try to do this together really quickly. So
I didn't know if I could share my screen because I could pull it up quick.
Yeah. Let's do that. I think. But we found out what me thinking looked like earlier before this ran is we basically broke the internet. Can you request on your end, Mark? What's that look like? Yes. Oh, okay. Well, maybe that functionality is not here. I can share mine, but yeah. Okay. So we're at the American Fence Association. Let's see, make sure we can see this. Nope. There we go. It'd be better if I added it. All right. So this is, I literally Google. So this is a brand new computer, just for a variety of reasons up here. Googled American Fence Association. This pops up. This is literally the first page. And so this is what we're talking about right here.
Yep.
Got it. And then again, like I said, my credentials are not on here, but okay. So we can actually go through and kind of look at some courses before
you can see it.
Yeah.
Now you're not showing that screen. You're still showing the AFA page.
Oh, well, that's great. Okay. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. As I'm just like clicking through. All right. Okay. See, one day this show's going to grow up and be a real show. Let's see here. So present, share screen, courses. Okay. Now we'll add it. There we go.
There you go.
So now we're looking at there are 4 pages of courses on here.
Yep.
Everything. So this is what you're talking about with coaching and consulting, gate safety. The next gates, the summit, gate and life safety.
Yep.
Tech Summit, Fence Fundamentals. So this is exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Where we're talking about just all of the basic fundamental knowledge you should have, or that would help you succeed in the fence industry.
Yep. And it goes through, it gives you a description and tells you about it.
Yeah.
Go back up to the Tech Summit right there.
Yeah, you got it.
Click on the Tech Summit.
Okay.
So this is what's cool about this is each of these different contractors that's in here, and it just shows it to you. And then when you click on them, it takes you to their presentation. And then it tells you about them, and then it takes you to just their presentation. So when you click on that, if you were signed in, it would just start playing that video. It might actually play it. You don't even have to sign in for this because it's free.
Wide open. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. So this is absolutely leading with value, right? Nick is saying, hey, we understand. And can we talk for a second that the fundamentals course, did I see? Yeah, it's only $59 for members, $89 for non-members, but I can't think of something else that we've invested in team members that was less than $59. I mean, there's the shirts and gear we give them is more than that. So,
well, and then there's multiple sections. There's quizzes after each of the sections, so they can go through and see what they, if they retained the knowledge that they learned. And then at the end of it, you get a certificate that you went through the entire course. And so if a manager wants to do this, the manager has insight to what each of his crew members is doing. So if he says 5 people go through this, he can go in and see what their progress is and what the scores are on each of the courses and all kinds of things.
I'm curious about the Bigfoot aliens and the myth of automatic pedestrian gates.
Yep.
That one's
that's
you might be signing up for a few things after this, Nick.
The guy from Torsion does that. And he goes through and talks about, everybody talks about not automating pedestrian gates. And it's like, no, you can't put a vehicular automatic gate on it. So we can't be putting an LA 400 on a swing gate,
Sure.
But they do make automated pedestrian gate openers, just like, a door leading into a supermarket or an airport or anything else. So you have the ability to do it.
Very nice. So, guys, there are just absolutely tons of courses. So I saw finance courses or like AR collections on the last page. Yep. We've got 3D modeling. We've got ornamental metal. I mean, Nick, it looks like just there's a wide variety of courses here. Contract negotiations, estimation. So everything from operations to sales to finance. This is great.
And then we can also go through and build bundles. So like if somebody calls us up and says, hey, I just hired a new sales guy. I'm sending him to the sales training school, but I want him to get some additional sales training. Could you put together a bundle of courses for us? And sure. So I'll take, these courses are $20. So I'll take 5 courses, put them together and knock the price down and give them a bundle deal. The other thing we're doing that I talked to you a little bit about before the show started is white labeling. So we are going through for companies that want to do some internal training of their own. We will actually make them their own private LMS, which this is a learning management system. That's what LMS stands for. We will private label their own learning management system on the backside. So Ozark Fence could have their very own LMS. It's going to be orange. It's going to have all your pictures, any training and videos and things like that you guys already have. We will put on there for your employees. And then because you have done that, we will also work out a deal for access to all of the AFA education. So we're, again, partnering with somebody because if you've ever looked into the cost of an LMS, it's not cheap. And so
we have, and that's why we haven't done it.
Yeah. So since we've already got it set up, I mean, we'll host everything for you. I mean, we can even go so far as to help you build courses in the future if there's something specific that you're wanting to do. Sure. So again, trying to be that partner.
And the reason that's so exciting to me is one of the keys to a successful business is having systems and processes, right? Just having a systemized way of doing everything. Here's how we receive a payment. We do this, we do that, we go into here, we go into there, we enter it wherever. Here's how we deposit that check. Here's how, just and on and on and on, right? Steps of creating an estimate. Here's what the walkthrough looks like and all that. So that was on our mind, is to create videos for all this, because I can tell you, Nick, but it's better if I show you. Now, the best is just a rewind in defense installation school. The best is put your hands on it. Sure. Right? Like that's the best way to absorb that knowledge. But the second best is let me show you. So create a video. Here's step 1, step 2, step 3. Here's exactly what I see. Here's what I click, that sort of thing. And so it sounds like what you guys have done is take the expensive part of this, which is, so we started creating these videos, but it's like, okay, well, where do we put them? Well, let's put them in Google Drive. Well, okay, now let's create a Google Drive for everyone and let's give everyone access to it. And let's hope they only have viewing permissions. Hopefully they have editing permissions, because this thing could go away at a moment's notice. And that led us to some of these educational platforms, the educational systems platforms. Nick, well, but so I'm not telling you anything, but we looked at that. We're like, you know what? Google's not so bad. It's really, we could figure that out, I guess. And guess what? We haven't, because that's where that ended. It was just, there is really cumbersome. It was very expensive to do well. And the second best scenario was really cumbersome. And, you know, that the best way to ensure success is to make it as frictionless as possible.
Yep.
There's just too much friction in that process. We're like, you know what? I'll just show you how to deposit a check. We'll just do that rather than do the video. But so it sounds like you guys have taken a lot of that friction out of it to say,
Absolutely.
hey, you know, well, we've got a platform already. To your point in the very beginning, let us partner with you as a member of the industry to say, let us partner with you and share what this platform that we've got, and what sounds like tailor fit a solution to your company to where you can now have what these $10 million companies have. They likely have in-house training.
Absolutely.
Right? So let us make that accessible to you in the best way possible.
Yep. Well, not only that, then everybody learns the exact same thing, the exact same steps from the exact same video. And so when you're talking about things, you're talking in the same terminology because you all learn from the same place.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it's just like when we've got guys in the field, in order to advance, they have to kind of clear some just knowledge checkpoints, right? Can you do this well? Can you do that well? Can you do this well? But now this is able to do that through the courses. We're able to do that as well for in-office positions.
Absolutely.
In that, like, hey, here's, you know, accounts receivable, like collections. Here's the collections module. Once we clear that hurdle now, or not hurdle, but that knowledge check, now you've shown me that you've not only ingested it, but you've retained it and you understand what we're talking about.
And not only that, it's on their time. Whenever they're available. It's not like now we have to wait for you to have, 45 minutes to sit down with them and show them. They have the ability, if, they're sitting at home at night and you say, hey, I've got to get this done by the end of the week. Cool. Take 15 minutes and watch a little bit of it here and 15 minutes and watch a little bit there, whatever. Yeah. And you don't have to wait on somebody to train somebody. It's education at their fingertips on their schedule. Which
leads to more knowledgeable team members, which is always good. It also, I would assume, leads to great retention because these team members recognize that they're being invested in, they're being given knowledge about it. Correct. They're more confident about the role. Through the pathways, now they see there is a vertical pathway in this company for me to advance within the company. So it sounds like what you guys are doing is multifaceted. I mean, obviously the knowledge is the first point, but then also there's a lot of carry-on effect here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, I mean, it's business expansion, and you can't expand in any direction without the right people and putting those people in place. And I mean, retention is one of the biggest things. And how do you do that? You create the good culture. You invest in your team members, you show them that they are valued and that you appreciate them, and educate them so that, it's that whole teach them that they can go off and do it on their own, and, treat them well enough that they don't need to or don't want to.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, and the other saying is like, what happens if I teach them and they leave? Well, okay. What happens if you don't and they stay? Yeah. It's that thing is you're arming them with the tools to be successful.
Yeah.
So, because I saw one of the modules on there also was finding A players.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, hey, let's start there. Let's look at our interview process, because that's a conversation that's going on in the industry right now is what do your interviews look like? Where do you find the people to interview? And once you get there, what does that interview look like? And how are you sifting through the answers?
Yeah.
So it looks like you guys start there and then build on that. Okay. Now that you found your A player, let's arm them with some basic fundamental knowledge. Okay. Yep. Now let's look at the pathways. Which way do we think they're going to go? Great. Well, here's a series of courses that kind of follow along that pathway.
Exactly. Yep.
Nick, I tell you what, I know you guys have been working on this for a while. I know I've heard about it for a while. So I'm sure for you, it's a relief that it's out there, but for me to be a member of AFA, I'm proud to see it out there as well. That you guys have invested this time in it, that you've made sure it's right, that it's really right, that it's not just something that's out there that's actually valuable. So I want to just tell you from me that it's recognized, and I want to thank you as a member for making this available to me and the team.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. We've been talking, the AFA has been talking about a learning management system since like 2018. Sure. And we finally just kind of through time, we kicked the can, and then they hired me about 2 years ago to oversee all the education, and I had a little bit of background in this stuff, and they were like, okay, now's the time, let's do it. And so we've been working on it for a year now. We literally started this time last year, and it's looking real good, and we've got more coming. I mean, we're talking about changing some of our education and doing some hybrid learning to where you do some of the stuff before you show up, and then when you show up, you get some review of that, and then you get the tangible stuff in person. And so
nice.
There's some really, really cool stuff coming that I'm really excited about.
Very good.
And we still haven't even got to Fence Tech.
Well, because I think, so Dan had mentioned sending people through courses at Fence Tech.
Yep.
So this year, Fence Tech, Salt Lake City, the last full week in February.
Yep.
We shot some video there during the mid-year. Beautiful city to begin with, but I can't imagine what that place. So I wasn't at the last Salt Lake City, but I can only imagine how nice that place is in the wintertime.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. The good thing is they don't get near the snow there. If they do get it, they're ready for it. So we should not have the ice issue that we had in Nashville. Because they're accustomed to it up there. But we've got education starting that Monday. We're doing the Leadership Academy. We're doing the Sales Training School, and then we're doing the System Designer course. So those all start on Monday. The System Designer course will actually go into the first half of the day on Tuesday, because that's a 12-hour course. The other ones we're cutting down to be one-day courses. Okay. And the reason is then because I have 30, I think I've got 36 education sessions on the books for Tuesday and Wednesday morning. So somebody could go through the Leadership Academy and then go into the education sessions. That's why last year was the first year that I backed the education up to Monday. And it's because it used to overlap. So if you took one of the big courses, you couldn't go to any of the small courses. And so, last year I got to thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? The whole reason to be here is education. So if I just move this back one day, now all of a sudden people can get all of the education. So
absolutely,
that's what we're going for this year.
So we've got education Monday through Thursday. Now it sounds like
Monday through Wednesday. So the show floor opens Wednesday afternoon. So we don't do any more education once the show floor opens.
Got it. Okay. So Wednesday afternoon. So then is the show floor then open all day Thursday and half day Friday?
Correct.
Got it. Got it. Very good. So you can just plan on being there a work week.
Yep.
Get in, Sunday night. Get in Sunday night so you're ready to go Monday morning. And then Friday evening, you could head back home.
Yep.
Nice. Now, you can also show up early, and you can also stay a little bit later, which is more than likely my plan, because it's a really nice area. It is. We were talking to Josh Rand and speaking of the snow, because I was like, how big of an issue is it? Like, really, how big of an issue is it? He's like, Joe, this place is built for taking care. I mean, look at where we are. He said it could snow 12 inches overnight, and they'll have the sidewalks clear, and everyone can walk into the convention center the next morning. Like they do not mess around with this. They know what they're doing, which makes sense. I mean, this place is built for conventions.
Yes.
There's like a dozen hotels around this place of every different loyalty program, right?
Yep.
So you've got Hyatts and Hiltons and all of them. The mass transit's right there. Yep. So if you want to go on down to the foothills or you want to go wherever, they've got that. Of course, the airport's not too far. I'm sure all of the hotels run shuttles to the airport. Yep. It's sounding like a really nice spot to be.
Yeah, it's cool. So, not only is one hotel directly attached to the convention center, the other hotel has a covered walkway that's attached to the convention center. So, I mean, you walk out of the hotel, across the walkway, across the street, and you're in the convention center. So, I mean, it's exactly like you said, all the rest of the hotels are right around the perimeter of this. So, I mean, the longest thing you might have to do is walk out of your hotel across the main road into the convention center. It's no big deal at all.
And it's all an easy walk. We had actually parked on the wrong side a few blocks down. So we had to walk around, and it's a beautiful place, no less. So it was a nice walk anyway. Yeah. But, and one of the things I noticed too was everything from Holiday Inn Express to Hyatt Regency, right?
Yeah.
So there's also a really nice range of pricing options as well.
Correct. Yep.
So I tell you, I'm excited for it for a few reasons. One, I mean, in years past, we've ended up, so when we come, we'll bring some support for the channel. We'll bring some people from the company. So we ended up getting Airbnb just because there's a lot of us having to rent a vehicle because Airbnbs obviously don't come with shuttles.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how excited I am just to have a hotel with a shuttle. Say, you know what? We're not dealing with any of that. Actually, we're just going to go. We're going to show up and check in. How great does that sound?
Yeah, for sure.
And know that we're also really close. Like that was one of the other drawbacks of the Airbnbs is they were always a bit of a drive. And anyway.
So then you miss all the hangouts because what happens?
Yes.
Everybody congregates at one or two hotels, and again, it's that everybody talks about the intangibles. It's that extracurricular conversation and that late night talk that you get into with 3 or 4 people from across the country talking about whatever show floor, job specs, new tools, business at whatever it is. It's those conversations that you cannot put a price on. That's just being part of the Fence fam.
Absolutely. And I've talked to Mark Olson, Job Nimbus, Mark Olson, and it sounds like Job Nimbus is very excited for this. I mean, it's in their backyard.
Yeah.
So they've got some big plans. They're really excited for this as well.
Awesome.
So it's gearing up to be a great year. So starting off with full education. So you can go through leadership, but then also you can hit the educational seminars as well. And then, right into the show floor, which I'm excited for. I really am. I've said that several times, but that's just sending home. I think it's going to be a really good year. I think so.
And we got the Pickets and Peaks opening party again this year. And I mean, it's going to be fantastic. The show floor is awesome. Like we're already going through and we've got renderings of everything. And I mean, it's going to be awesome. Jim has done a great job making sure that the show floor is full and everybody on the logistics end, on the back end, TEG is doing a fantastic job helping us out, making sure the show floor looks right. And I mean, it's going to be really, really cool.
I tell you, that's one thing I noticed last year was just how efficient it was, like from the vendor standpoint on getting in, getting set up, just not saying that other years haven't been that, but that was one thing I noticed last year was, and Jim's really at the head of that team, just making sure everything goes really smooth, goes well. And a lot of the vendors I talked to were pretty impressed with it.
Yeah. It was definitely a change. So that was the first year with TEG. So they came in and did a great job for us, and now they're getting to know us a little better, and they're getting to know our people, and it's just going to keep building from there. So nice. We've got a really good group of people working on this. We've got a fantastic team as far as the staff goes, and they do an awesome job. And so it's going to be really cool.
It's going to be good. So guys, things to keep in mind. Keep an eye on Fence Installation School on the road training likely coming to a region near you. If not, Fence Tech coming up last full week in February. Another great time, and the one show of the year where everyone comes from everywhere, descends on a city, and just talks fence for about a week. And it's like the adult Disney World, really. Yeah. It's just like the grown-up Disney World. And then if all that just doesn't work in the calendar, then we've got the online education, the learning management system, AFA. Just Google American Fence Association. It's right there in the top right. You can start with the fundamentals, go from there. You can also have a learning management system built out for your company in partnership with the AFA, which is something that Ozark Fence will be doing, because I'm pretty excited about that. I really am. And so for you guys watching at home, my plan is for Nick and I to get together on this, but also for me and the video team to kind of document what that process looks like and to show you guys what's possible. I'm also excited. I don't know how many times I've said excited today, but I'm also excited for this. Enthusiastic. Let's use synonyms here. I'm very enthusiastic for this as well.
I like it.
Nick, we are about a half hour past, so I appreciate you making time available on a Saturday. I know it's a hard time slot to get into, so I appreciate you making time available.
No, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate all you do for us and all you do for the industry, and I'm just glad that there's a platform where we've got a couple different folks that I love getting online and talking to them and getting the information out. So, I appreciate you for sure.
Nick, if someone has questions about any of these subjects, how can they get in touch with you?
So all of my contact info is on the website. My email is nick@American Fence Association. You can find all of the staff on the website. So if you want to talk to membership, that's member services at AFA. Basically if you have the person's first name, it's just at American Fence Association after that. So email any of us.
Very good. Very good. Well, guys, if you're interested in more, please reach out to Nick. I'm sure I'll see you guys at one of these, for sure at Fence Tech, more than likely at one of the installation schools. I just like going to meet with the Fence fam. Like that's just what I like is catching up with everybody and getting a little bit of golden nuggets along the way makes it even better. But I expect to see you guys there as well. Nick, thank you again. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys, for now, Joe Everest, the fence expert, with Nick Rike, with the American Fence Association. What if we called you like the educational czar? Does that sound right? Is that okay?
I like educational guru better.
Guru. Educational guru. There you go. There you go. Guys, we're reminding you that good fences, Nick,
make good neighbors.
Bingo. And we'll see you next time.